Junk food supper.
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 Junk food
Junk
supper.
food supper.
Junk food supper.
Junk food supper.
All right, welcome to Junk Food
Junk
Supper,
Food
the
Supper.
mostly weekly podcast where my co-host and I, Parker Bowman in the 559 and Sean Byron down here in LA, try our best to make do at producing a podcast in the absence of our fearless leader, Kevin Moss, who will be rejoining us, I believe, next week for our traditional junk food dinner episodes. But this is not one of those. This is just a supper in which Bowman and I will be reviewing one movie, not three. We don't have the energy for three this week. We can only talk one. But it will be a movie that features quite a few collaborators, and that will be Shrek Retold. Before that, we'll have a little discussion about something else, TBD. But before we get into any of that, I got to ask, Parker Bowman, how you doing this week?
This week, I'm doing great. Although you do mention that we don't have enough energy to talk about three movies this week, and I definitely agree with that. I have a newborn baby in the house, and I have zero energy whatsoever because of it.
Oh, wow. Let's hear about this newborn baby. So I didn't even know that you guys were trying to conceive or that Jennifer was pregnant. I mean, congrats. I don't know how you guys kept this secret for so long, but congrats.
Well, thank you. We conceived of a healthy 5-year-old baby boy puppy. He's part pug and part cocker spaniel.
Oh, I see. I've been deceived.
It was all a trick. I deceived you. Yeah, he's our newborn child, this guy. Quite the puppy. We got him on Friday. The place where we got Gonzo at like 2 or 3 years ago, we've been following them on Facebook all these years. And they keep, for months and months and months, they would post pictures of this little guy, this cocker spaniel pug. He's ugly. He's just terrible to look at in every conceivable way.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been there for months and months and months. And we're always like, oh man, look how cute this guy is. He's so ugly. We should get him. Just kind of like jokingly saying we should go get him. But he's been there for so long now that they were doing he's almost free. Like just come pick him up, please. Cause he's been here forever deal. And then on top of that, we saw Guardians of the Galaxy Friday, which is like all about like abandoned pets, living in a shelter, being lonely. And those two things, we were just like, all right, we got to go get this fucking guy. So he's a wonderful young man, and I'm glad that he's part of the crew. And it's a very joyous time.
I love everything about this. I feel like this is heartwarming, and I feel like I could only celebrate such a heartwarming tale with a single drop, which only this would be appropriate.
What kind of dog you got, bro?
Oh, he's got the body of a cocker spaniel and the face and tail of a pug. It's just unnatural to look at him.
And did you really name him Shinji Ikari?
Shinji Ikari is his name, yes.
Okay.
But,
all right.
I mean, we just call him Shinji, which is a reasonable name, I think. I haven't had an opportunity to get mad at him yet because he's so cute, but I imagine I'll call him Shinji Ikari whenever he's in trouble.
Okay, and he just knows that it's there on his long form birth cert. We can know that that's his name without necessarily having to be addressed by it all the time.
Yeah, he's well aware. I mean, they've all got full names. Like Kepi, his full name is Kepsilon Alpha. That's what I call him when he's mad. And Gonzo, of course, is just Dr. Gonzo. Although we do call him Gonzalo, so I guess that's maybe his long name.
Wow. So you've got quite a menagerie now. It's just it's the 3 dogs. Do you still have a lizard? And I think the cat's gone, right?
Yeah, cat died. So it kind of evens out because the cat was as big as the new dog, who is by far the biggest of our dogs. So mass-wise, it is kind of evened out in that respect. But we do still have the one lizard, who's also named after an Evangelion character. And she just kind of hangs out. She's very small, comparatively.
Well, color me impressed, man. You've become something of a zookeeper up there, and I think it's kind of cool.
It's true. Yeah, we might need a bigger house. Like we've got, up until now, we had 2 very small dogs, and our little backyard was more than enough. But this guy has very long legs, so I don't know. We might need to upgrade. but it's very joyous. It's a happy time.
So you kind of brushed right by your film attendance news there. You saw Guardians. What did you think of this Guardians?
Well, Kevin, if you're listening, skip ahead 10 seconds.
No.
Oh, well, poetic cinema is what I would refer to
Oh.
it as. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was, James Gunn is a genius, and it was another masterpiece. I was kind of going into it a little bit dreading it because a lot of these newer Marvel movies haven't really hit me. Even the ones that I do like aren't, 100% bangers like they used to be. So I was a little bit worried, but this is an absolute masterpiece. I love it. Are you considering seeing it?
I may. I mean, I feel like I probably should. I saw the other two in theaters. I did notice that the box office results were kind of muted for this. I don't think it's the big success that Marvel had hoped.
Yeah. As we talked about on that new bonus segment, I thought this was going to be the biggest movie of the summer, and so far it's not. I mean, it's like reasonable. It made like 150 million or something. But yeah, not up to Marvel standards, especially for like a big trilogy concluding thing. But I think that's probably because, like I said, like the last 5 movies have been like absolute dog shit. So I think once word of mouth gets out, maybe this will pick up because it's actually good.
Yeah, I think you got that going on. I think maybe you got people out there who have like spent all of their life savings rewatching the Mario movie 50 times, it seems like, based on that movie's success. I think it's just general kind of Marvel fatigue and the feeling that like there's just too much of this content, whether it's good or bad. Because I have that feeling about Star Wars, which is like, I, for the most part, like these new Star Wars TV shows that are being made, but I can't keep up with all this content. It's way too much.
Yeah, I do think there's that. I think that they really screwed up by doing like a new TV show every couple of months, and then like telling people that it was like, you have to see this, it all ties in together. Because those TV shows were all pretty bad and none of them tie into anything at all, except for like possibly Loki and WandaVision a little bit. So I think that like, yeah, telling people, hey, you have to watch all of this stuff that's coming out has really led to that kind of fatigue that you're talking about, I think.
Especially when it's that much of an investment in time. Most of these movies are like 3 hours long, it seems like. So it's not as easy as like back in the day. It was kind of annoying when Marvel would be like, you got to buy this comic book to understand this other comic. But you'd be like, okay, I'm going to plop down $1.25 and spend 15 minutes and breeze through this and I'll get it. But now it's like, I got to sign up for Disney Plus and watch 16 hours of a show that's middling at best in order to enjoy a movie. Like, go fuck off. Like, that's not how this is supposed to work.
Yeah. Although, yeah, that is the one good TV thing that came out of this is the Marvel or the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special that we watched on the main show. I like that. Yeah, James Gunn can do no wrong. I feel like I think he's pure light and energy.
And now he's off to save another comic universe, hopefully.
Hopefully. I don't know. I'm not as big of a DC'sman, so we'll see how it goes. But and I'm especially not a Superman's man, so we'll see how it goes. But so far he's batting 1,000.
If he brings a sense of fun to the DC movies, I think that is what has been missing from pretty much every DC movie that I've seen. And, even the ones that I've just seen trailers for, it's like, where's the fun in this universe? And it seems like that's what James Gunn could potentially bring.
Yeah, and he's a very wholesome fellow. These Guardian movies are, especially this new one, are all about like family and like these wholesome, themes of like family and friendship and finding who you are in a rotten world. And I think that a lot of that kind of stuff is kind of the best stuff about Superman, maybe. So, I mean, it could work out really well, I guess.
Well, speaking of working out really well, you and I touched on this a little bit like pre-show, but I streamed that WWE Backlash event this past weekend. Thought it went pretty well. This is after I had kind of fallen off watching week to week wrestling post WrestleMania, man. I tried. I watched like the first few weeks, maybe 2 weeks of shows post WrestleMania, and they were just so boring that I pretty much fell off, and then was like, I'll just watch the next pay-per-view. I thought it was entertaining. I don't know. There were a number of decent matches, nothing game-changing or anything, and some of them felt kind of like squashes, but somehow that Bad Bunny street fight was maybe the best celebrity-involved wrestling match that I can remember. I mean, not that it's like a gold standard classic or anything, but pretty good. And then, like we were talking about off air, the crowd was just incredible. Like 10 out of 10, maybe the best audience I've seen for wrestling, maybe ever. I don't know. I mean, they were just really into it. So I thought that was a pretty fun event.
They were going nuts, especially in that first match with Io Sky and Bianca Belair. Like, they would do like a wrist lock and the crowd would just be like, oh my fucking God, this is nuts. Like, it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it had been like 18 years or something since WWE had been down there, and you could feel like that pent up hunger just for in-ring action. So yeah, I thought that was cool. Hopefully they go back down there again soon.
Yeah, and yeah, I also hope for that because my man Carlito got a huge reaction, and I was always a big guy screaming at the rafters that Carlito was underrated and should have been a WWE champion. So I'm glad that he got that kind of reaction. Yeah,
it was cool to see him. Just overall, the whole vibe was great, and what a 180 from what will be their next environment overseas that they go into, which is, I think the next pay-per-view is in Saudi Arabia again, right? Which,
oh yeah,
those are never good. I might even just skip that one, to be honest.
Yeah, those aren't fun. The ladies got to wear those big outfits.
Yeah, they're going to have the women wrestling in full hijabs, Not going to be able to see Bianca Belair smile on screen. Yeah, it's going to be gnarly.
Yeah.
Speaking of gnarly, though, Brock Lesnar with the the crimson mask.
That was good. I like blood. Blood is cool. I'm going to go on record as saying blood is cool. So I like that he was a bloody mess.
Well, and I feel like this is maybe we're 2 for 2 now on telling the WWE on what they need to correct in their wrestling, because we were bemoaning this no blood policy too long ago, and it seems to me like there was no blood policy down in San Juan. So that was cool to see.
Yeah, they've been listening to us lately. I like that.
And to counteract WWE Backlash San Juan, I also watched Schindler's List this past week.
How did that work out for you?
All 3.5 hours.
Weird transition.
It was a weird transition in my life at the time, certainly here on the podcast. It worked out, man. I mean, I'm guessing you've seen it, right? You've seen this list. You know about this list.
I'm aware of the list, but I have actually never seen that movie.
You got to see this list, man. It's, you absolutely need to be in 100% the right frame of mind before you go into it. Like, you got to steel yourself for this movie. Because Spielberg goes hard, man. I had forgotten. This is like the third time I've seen it. I saw it on videotape, around the time that it hit Blockbuster. And then I saw it on DVD in my 20s. And it had been a while, and my wife had never seen it. So I'm like, eventually, we got to see this. There's going to be no perfect time to put ourselves through this, but let's sit down and watch this together. I think she enjoyed, quote unquote, enjoyed it or appreciated it. But yeah, it's brutal, man. And it has not seemingly gotten any less brutal with age. It's just like a ruthless movie, but also really beautiful. So, I mean, I'm not going out on a limb here. I'm not being especially brave by saying Schindler's List is a good movie, but I know that people are hesitant to sit down and engage with it, but it's if you're in the mood, it's worth your time.
Yeah, I've been meaning to see it. 9 times out of 10, I think Spielberg's pretty mediocre, but the 1 time out of 10 that he's not, absolute classic bangers. including some of the stuff that sort of fits into the Schindler's List. Like I love Saving Private Ryan. Like I think that movie is a classic banger. And I mean, they're probably tonally very different, but similar kind of historical subject matter, I suppose. But so based on my love of that, I have been wanting to see this.
Yeah, I mean, it does not feel like a Spielberg movie in the sense of like there's very minimal schmaltz or whatever. And it's, I mean, for a long time, it's just scene after scene where people that you think are going to be potentially characters that you will be caring for the entire movie, just getting shot point blank in the face, like, and just crumpling over. And then he'll just do it to you again and again. So it's brutal.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm in. I'll watch it.
Sadly, very few appearances from Carlito in the film, though.
Well, that's because he spits in the face of people who don't want to be cool, and the Nazis were rarely cool. So, you know, I mean, well, I guess that doesn't make any sense, but it should have been more Carlito by that logic, I suppose. But maybe they'll do like an extended like edition, like he did with E.T., and just like put CG Carlito in there to spit in Nazis' faces. Well, there's another thing I wanted to ask you about that you've been watching.
Oh, really?
How do you feel? Yeah, I'm curious, you see. How do you feel about Jury Duty? A show that you told me that I might like.
Well, I haven't finished it yet. I've watched 4 episodes, I think. I need to get back to it. I've been distracted by this Schindler's List, you see. But I liked what I was seeing. I mean, mostly I liked that it was kind of like a super low stakes, throwbacky kind of thing. Like it reminded me of like watching TV in the late 90s and like not caring that much, but being kind of generally entertained, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. Like, I kind of like it, but mostly it kind of also offends me a little bit because I just kind of don't get it. Like I don't understand what the stakes are. Like they're tricking this guy into thinking that he's doing something that's legally mandated, and that it's like I've been seeing all these comments on Serialized and people being like, oh my God, I can't believe how serious he's taking this trial. And it's like, well, yeah, if you go to jury duty and you don't take it seriously and you goof off, you could be found in contempt of court and thrown in jail and beaten up by guards. Like, yeah, he's taking it seriously. Like, so I kind of don't understand what the joke is necessarily.
I think the joke is like a lot of these people, who are being portrayed by actors are playing characters that are like so stereotypical or, that feel like they're written for TV. And it's just kind of this exploration of like, is this guy so, has his brain been exposed to so much media and television that he thinks that this is normal and that this is what the real world is like. But like, like that, the lady attorney, with her like perfect haircut and just the way that she talks and acts and like all of this stuff feels like it's from a courtroom drama TV show more so than real life. And I think it's just fun to be like, doesn't this guy notice that, these people's stories are changing around him, that Kirk Fox can't keep his backstory straight from episode to episode, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I do like James Marsden. I think he's very funny on the show.
Yeah. And the Marsden stuff is very funny.
Yeah, he's good. There's a funny part. I don't know if it's in the first 4 episodes or not, so I won't mention it, but there's like a really, really funny part with him. You
feel like it didn't pay off in the end, though?
The last episode is the one that offends me the most. So, I mean, we can talk about it when you get there. I don't want to spoil anything, but
I'll probably blast through those this week or something.
Yeah. I found it like mildly fun until then. And there's some stuff about that last episode that really kind of irks me.
I think it also goes back to what I was saying when we were reviewing, or maybe when we were talking about Jackass, or maybe we were reviewing the Nathan Fielder thing. But I like the idea of blending real people and actors and just seeing what happens. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a prank. I think there's something interesting about that form in general to get this kind of combination of, people trying to calculate what they want to say to this guy in order to potentially, lead him down a path and then seeing how he resists it potentially. Like there's some fun interplay there that I don't think that you get when it's just all real people or just actors.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think maybe what they could have done to make it more interesting to me is like have two real people. It's like it would be funny, like
Yeah.
if they, like to see if they like corroborated on like, hey, isn't this fucking weird? Like being the only two normal-ish people, or something like that, or like I don't know, maybe throw somebody else in there.
I think that, that probably totally would have worked, have them go back to their quarters at the end of the trial or at the end of each day and hash out what they saw. That, yeah, I mean, that's probably better than what this show does is it puts all of the actors together with the mark, like in a room where they're having this big group interview session. And he's supposed to be like honest in front of everybody about what he saw. And you can kind of feel like his hesitation to even really engage with those interviews.
Yeah, he's like a very reserved man, so it's a little odd. Although I guess if he was like super weird, it'd be a much different show. But speaking of much different things,
Oh, okay.
we have a segment to do this week that ties into
Very
the
nice.
movie. We're going to talk about to kind of complement talking about Shrek, which is a movie about fairy tales. I thought it would be fun if we talked about our top 3 fairy tale movies of all time.
So do we want to set some ground rules, though, on what even is a fairy tale movie?
That is a good question. Let's see what Webster's dictionary says.
Because I feel like in looking for other people's lists that might inspire my own list, I saw like a lot of like Harry Potter being listed, and I'm thinking
I don't think no.
Could that be a fairy tale? I mean, it shouldn't be based on a book that is like currently, still being written. Like the series of Harry Potter books was not even over when they started making those movies. It's got to be like an old ass story, right?
I think being old is important, but not necessarily like a rule. Like Harry Potter is just like general fantasy. Like I think fairy tales have to be pretty simple and they have to have a moral. Like I think most great fairy tales you can tell like in one sitting to a kid if you needed to, Whereas you could not do that with Harry Potter. And I mean, I think more often than not, their brothers Grimm wrote them. I think that's probably a big part of them.
Or Hans Christian Andersen.
Oh, of course, we can't neglect to include Hans Christian Andersen here.
Or some Italian guy named, what is it, Cordy or Coral D or something. He wrote a bunch of them too.
I don't know about that guy.
But, he wrote Pinocchio.
Oh, okay, yeah, I like that guy then. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I guess fairy tales are like kind of a little bit, you know them when you see them, but oh my God, can you hear Shinji snoring right now, by the way?
No.
Okay, he's just snoring very loudly. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I guess whatever you think a fairy tale is, it might be. I don't know. If you got something weird, I'll let you know. I got one that might be, well, I've got one that's kind of a modern retelling of a fairy tale and one that might be a little bit dubious. So I guess we might have plenty of opportunity to discuss what is a fairy tale.
We do need fantasy elements, right? Like Huck Finn, that's not a fairy tale, right?
Not a fairy tale.
Okay.
Yeah, there does have to be like some fanciful elements, which is why I think whoever said Harry Potter is lumping that in. But I do think that there's a difference between just fantasy in general and a fairy tale.
All right. Well, I feel like we kind of grew up in a interesting time for fairy tale media. Like I remember just being a child and like turning on HBO or whatever and seeing the most bizarre, like made for TV adaptations of classic fairy tales, like live action things. Like there's that Shelley Duvall one, but there was also like Jim Henson had all these like remakes of fairy tales that would hit TV, or just like it felt like every TV channel, if you gave them a minute, they would crank out like a remake of Alice in Wonderland or Cinderella or something, most of which were kind of bad, but also they've kind of like burrowed their way into my subconscious, where I have all these images in my brain that I can't quite place, of like weird witch ladies and stuff like this, where I'm like, I should go back and dig into this made for TV fantasy stuff that we grew up with.
Yeah, it's something that I've been wanting to delve more into too. Like I've got a few logged on Letterboxd, but not nearly enough, because it's like it's a huge genre, and one that can kind of go into a lot of different places. It's not just like, I think most people when they think of fairy tales, they think of like Disney movies, and I think that that's a big part of it. But I think that there's a lot more out there.
Especially when you open the gates to foreign films, like how many Eastern European fairy tale movies are there? It feels like, billions, an uncountable number.
That is probably true. Lots of Lithuanian fairy tales out there, I bet.
Yeah, and most of them do feature stop motion photography, with animal corpses, but that's their way.
In Japan, that's very common, yes.
And again, in Japan, that's, kind of common.
Well, I'll start it off with my number 3. And this is the one that's weirdest, but I feel like it fits. I'll explain it. And I have a backup if you want to veto it.
Okay.
But it's Hellboy 2, The Golden Army.
That's very weird.
It's not necessarily based on a specific fairy tale, but fairy tales are very important to the plot. The titular Golden Army is an in-universe, is the subject of an in-universe fairy tale that is told to Hellboy at a very young age, and he grows up just thinking is like a fanciful fairy tale, and then he grows up and realizes it was real. So it's sort of a fairy tale in that way. And then, kind of the theme of spoken folklore is like very heavy throughout the movie. And then it does have a lot of the fanciful elements. Like there's like this really cool scene where like a bunch of monsters like live under a bridge, and it pulls in a lot of specific fairy tale stuff like that, like specific fairy tale tropes, sort of the way that like Shrek does. We'll be talking about later. Without necessarily being beholden to any one fairy tale outside of the in-universe fairy tale that it has. So that's what I'm going with. Also, just a very good movie. I think it's pretty fun. Have you seen this movie? I think you would. I think maybe you haven't, but I think you would like it. I think we've talked about it before.
I did see this. I saw this in theaters at the time, but that was the last time that I saw it. I remember generally liking it, but I don't remember a whole lot of specifics. I think there were some like vampire guys in it that looked kind of like subspecies.
Yeah,
that's about it.
They're like elves, if I remember. It's been a while since I've seen it. They're like kind of vampire-y elf type of folks.
Yeah, I feel like I should go back to this and soak up, all these weird characters and stuff once again, because it's been a while.
A very good movie for practical effects. Lots of cool Muppets and stuff in it.
More like technical fuckatry.
Oh, Kevin's not impressed.
Not at all. So that's my number 3. What is your number 3?
My number 3 is an adaptation of The Frog Prince, which is a Brothers Grimm story. The Princess and the Frog from 2009. You mentioned before that, Disney made, a lot of these fantasy fairy tale type movies, many of which I think are very beloved. But I think this one is a little bit underloved. It's the movie about a young waitress in New Orleans who goes on an adventure and falls in love with a frog. That was directed by John Musker and Ron Clements, the guys that did Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, and later would do Moana. And these are guys that really love, classic animated features, that traditional 2D animation, which is what they brought to this movie. And I was hyped for it because, before this, looking at what Disney had put out in the 5 features before this are all like very forgettable CGI features. They are Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, and Bolt, all of which I think nobody remembers because they weren't very good. But this came out and I loved it. But I feel like it kind of just faded away from public memory pretty quickly. And then I think maybe like Avatar came out the week after this as well, which probably hurt its box office a bit. But I've always loved this. And I think one of the last pre-pandemic movie screenings that I went out to was a 10-year anniversary of this. And I remember like showing up for it, completely empty auditorium, and thinking that I would be the only person in the theater, for the entire movie until like a few minutes into the movie, a mother and 2 small children walk in, sit right behind me in the row, right behind me, the seats immediately behind me in this completely empty movie theater. And then the mom popped open her phone and started watching YouTube videos at full volume for a while. And the kids were just running around the entire theater screaming. So not the best 10-year anniversary celebration for this movie, but I've since rewatched it at home multiple times, and I will always love this thing. I mean, I don't think there are too many other Disney movies that have jazz-loving alligators that play trumpet, but I think that they all should. Did you ever catch this one, The Princess and the Frog?
I have not. I remember it coming out, and I remember people at the time kind of, saying that, yeah, this is like pretty underrated and it's kind of a return to form for these Disney animated features, and kind of being into it. I think it also is maybe next in line for one of the live action remakes that they're doing. I think I've heard that.
Yeah, I think so. Sadly.
Yeah. Well, some of those are good. Most of them are not.
Oh, really? We've got a live action Disney Defender.
At least one of them. Well, that maybe we'll be talking about here in a bit. But
interesting. Okay, all right.
And yeah, so I probably should check this out. I don't know. I think it seems interesting.
It's fun. I mean, it leans heavy on that kind of New Orleans atmosphere, but they really nail it. And like the swamp stuff looks great. The New Orleans like city stuff looks great. The music from Randy Newman's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's just kind of it's an old school Disney feature. It's can't go wrong.
I like the sound of that. All of that. I like when animals from the bayou play jazz. I'm gonna be honest. I do. That's the only kind of jazz I like is when it's played by animals. So
of course, yeah. I mean, that's how I feel with country music and country bears.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my number 2. This is the one that was my modern update. So it's very firmly based on a fairy tale, but it's updated for the modern day. Put in sort of a more realistic setting, but all the storyline beats are there, all the characters are there, and that's Freeway, which is based on Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh yeah.
Which it took me probably my 4th time watching that movie before I realized that. I did not get it for a long time when I was watching this in high school. And then here it says it right in the first sentence in the letterbox summary. So no one will ever make that mistake again. But yeah, it's about Reese Witherspoon, who's like an inner city kid who runs away, and she's picked up by instead of a werewolf that's trying to eat her, it's a horrible rapist and serial killer. But outside of that, a lot of the same exact story beats, just kind of put in present day and put in Southern California and with serial killers and trips to juvenile detention and stuff like that. And this movie's great. I think it's very fair, very fun, and has aged extremely well. I think it's wonderful. You also like this movie, right?
Yeah, I think we reviewed it on the show, right? At some
Yep.
point.
Indeed, we
And
did.
I mean, it's one that I remember seeing on, Showtime or Cinemax or maybe HBO as a teenager and being like, wow, this is like a creepy movie. And it still feels like a creepy movie. Keith Kiefer is great at being a creep, and he really excels in that role. And the way that it's shot feels very immersive in a way. You just feel like you're kind of along for the ride with this girl on this scary ass journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way that the original, was meant to scare kids, I think that this one probably scares you if you catch it late at night on Cinemax and you're 15 or 16 or whatever. Like, it's just, like you said, it's very unnerving. And, the fact that Kiefer Sutherland plays this guy who pretends to be like a, very conservative family man type, and then he's actually a crazy serial killer, I think is definitely the modern day kind of a werewolf. I mean, so much so that, that's kind of the metaphor for what werewolves are. They're like kind of unbridled lust and is it id or ego? I don't like all the basest, the basest things about humanity. And yeah, so putting that into like a pedophile serial killer, I think is a good way to go. But what's your number two?
My number two is a two-letter title. Well, kind of. It's AI, artificial intelligence. From 2001. This is a retelling of Pinocchio, loosely, kind of a modern retelling of Pinocchio, maybe some other elements from other fairy tales blended in there as well. But this is another, much like Princess and the Frog, another big budget movie that did reasonably okay, like not too bad at the box office, but I feel like still has kind of a mixed reputation critically these days. It's another movie that I was super hyped for, being the world's biggest Stanley Kubrick fan at age 18 around this time, and also being, a pretty big Spielberg fan. I was hyped for this. And at the time, I was pretty new in Los Angeles. And one of the very first things that happened to me after I moved here was that my roommate, this guy, Matt, who was recently unemployed, he got obsessed with the alternate reality game that Warner Brothers had created for this movie, which was basically, I think this was maybe the first ARG that really had any kind of prominence. They were pretty much non-existent at the time. And they really went to these extreme depths to make this ARG. Like they hired actors that would show up at like press conferences to promote the movie, who they would plant in the audience and have them ask questions of Haley Joel Osment or Spielberg about things that were only relevant to the game and not even relevant to the movie. And like Haley Joel had been trained to, give certain answers. And they inserted like phone numbers into like tiny text on the movie posters and stuff like this. And you would call these phone numbers and be talking to a live actor who would be telling you about events in the game and all this stuff. And they had these anti-robotics rallies where they hired actors to go around these cities, including LA, and like hold up signs, protesting artificial intelligence. And it was really wild. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is what my life is going to be like in Los Angeles. And of course, most of my life is not like that at all. But for a brief, time in like the summer of 2001, it was so fascinating to be, clustered around all of these mysteries, with a group of strangers from the internet and trying to solve, who killed this person and, all this kind of stuff. Anyhow, the movie eventually came out and I loved it. I think my roommate, Matt, maybe had, medium affection for it. I think he had some reservations, and I think a lot of people have some reservations with this movie. Maybe they don't like the ending, or maybe they don't like certain elements of it. But I just think it's a wild ride and full of so many memorable moments. That junkyard scene towards the beginning and all of the set design. I've rewatched it multiple times, and I think it still holds up. So AI, you've seen AI, right?
I have seen AI. I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch it. I feel, I don't know. I don't have a lot of strong feelings about it. It definitely feels like a movie that should have been made by Kubrick, but then was instead made by Steven Spielberg. Like, it feels exactly like what it is, which is maybe why or probably why it feels weird to a lot of people.
Well,
But
apparently, a lot of that stuff that people think is Spielberg adding to the script, like, is in fact the inverse. What I was reading is like that ending, the whole final 20 minutes, where basically you get kind of like this saccharine, happy ending in a sense, if you read it that way. That was all Kubrick's stuff. That did not come from Spielberg. Spielberg wrote a lot of the more gnarly stuff in the middle with like the flesh fair and the prostitutes and all that stuff. So I don't know. I was surprised to learn that, recently.
yeah, I think I've watched like a YouTube video or something that says that. Yeah, Spielberg says that he kept a lot of Kubrick stuff intact, which seems, I don't know. I know he liked that guy a great deal, so I don't know. I guess that seems reasonable. I don't know. It's just like a very odd film. Also, after I watched it, like there was like I went to log it on Letterboxd, as you do. And there's like a big thread. I forget whose it was, but it was like this big, huge thread where people were fighting over whether or not the thing at the end, spoiler alert, is aliens or whether it's other robots. And like, I recognize that it's supposed to be other robots from the future, but they look exactly like stereotypical aliens. So like, I don't like, I think maybe Spielberg should have maybe did those a little bit differently. And that's always irked me about the movie, because it's like, everybody's confused about the ending because you couldn't pick a better design for your stupid creatures. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's like a silly reason to be mad at a movie, but but people are still arguing about it decades later, so maybe it's not, I guess. But that irked me about it too. But I don't know. I should rewatch it, I guess.
I think the whole ending, I think, is kind of ambiguous. You could even maybe argue that none of it really happens, that this is kind of like a, fever dream, death throes kind of scenario for the robot boy, but
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
Anyhow, what is your next favorite fairy tale?
My next favorite fairy tale is one of those live action Disney movies.
Oh, really?
I think this is one of the first ones, or early on in this big trend of doing live action Disney movies, and it's Cinderella from 2015.
Okay, all right.
I think this movie is wonderful. It is just so delightful to watch. It's so pretty and it's so fun. The cast is wonderful and directed by my man, Kenneth Branagh, which is why I watched it originally. I think this came out not too long after I started trying to become a Shakespeare'sman and watching all the Branagh movies. And I was like, well, I like all these Shakespeare Branaghs, and he made this Cinderella. I don't know. I guess I got to watch it to complete my Letterboxd list. And I loved it. I thought it was just absolutely super fun. I think a lot of the casting is really cool. Like Kate Blanchett plays the wicked stepmother, and the fairy godmother is Helena Bonham Carter. And I think that most directors would switch that to kind of play them up to type. And I think the Branaghs did an interesting thing casting them differently. I think Lily James as Cinderella is really fun. She played Pamela Anderson in that miniseries that came out recently. I think she's really good. She was also in that really bad Rebecca remake. But I think she's good in general. And it's just like a super fun movie. So fun, in fact, that John Waters had it on his best of the year list that year. So I feel bolstered by the fact that my man John Waters has my back on this. But I think it's just like a super, super fun movie.
To be fair, Waters picked it solely based on the dog shit eating scene in Cinderella, right?
Yeah. One of the wicked stepsisters does eat dog shit in it.
Yeah. After that, he's like, I don't even need to watch the rest of this thing.
But you have not seen this, is that correct?
No, and to be honest, I forgot that this even existed. I feel like nobody talks about this anymore. Maybe I'm just in a bubble where people don't talk about Cinderella 2015. It looks like it made a ton of money, $542 million on a $95 million budget. So it was a success way back when. And I feel like I would be open to watching this, I guess. Surprised you didn't pick Kenneth Branagh's most successful fairy tale film, which is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, as we've established.
Did he do that movie?
Well, he's an actor in it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I don't think I've seen that one. Otherwise, I would have picked that one.
You can skip it. It's not that great. Yeah, I'm down for this. Is it set in like modern times or anything lame like that, or they're just doing kind of a classic retelling with live action?
Yeah, it's just straight up Cinderella. Just a Cinderella story set in Cinderella times, like very faithful to the story and to the original Disney movie. Like
we got music. We got the bippity boppity boo or whatever.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe all that stuff's in there. I think it's a musical. It's been 8 years since I've seen it, but I think so. I think all that stuff's in there.
I don't know. It looks like it was scored by a composer.
More like a poser.
Exactly.
If he didn't include that stuff.
Gonna have that bippity boppity boo.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it now. I kind of don't remember if they kept that stuff, but it's just a very straight Cinderella story. No crazy stuff involved. No Kiefer Sutherland as a pedophile serial killer.
Well, I don't think anybody really expected Disney to bring that kind of heat to their treatment, but I'm glad that there is a kind of straightforward retelling.
It's fun.
Well, I got what's that?
This dog over here, he's snoring so loud. I'm sorry if you have to edit all of this out later.
I heard like some, not snores before, but maybe some little yelps or something.
That might have been Gonzo. I know he's in the other room looking out the window. Sometimes he gets mad at people, but Shinji, he's just snoring up a storm. You know, he's got the little pug face, so I apologize if it's picking up. But what is your number one movie?
Well, my number one it's kind of a live action remake of a Disney fairy tale, except that it came out 50 years before the Disney cartoon, and that is The Thief of Baghdad from 1940, based on the Arabian Nights stories. Stories which had been told in the movies before. I think 1924 is maybe the first time that The Thief of Baghdad was adapted, and certainly it's been adapted many times since, but until recently, the only version that I had remembered seeing was the Disney cartoon from the 90s. And if you see this movie from 1940, you might think to yourself, wow, this is a lot like the 1990 Aladdin movie, you know? And it turns out a lot of the good stuff from the Disney cartoon was ripped directly from this old-ass movie. This was directed by the British duo Powell and Pressburger. And in particular, like the performance of Conrad Veidt. Veidt? How do you say this guy's name? I think Veidt.
I think Veidt. I say it as Veidt because I know that his last name is the inspiration for Adrian Veidt from Watchmen.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's Veidt, but I might be wrong.
Well, the performance of Conrad Veidt from Dr. Caligari as the villainous Jafar in this is kind of like note for note what Disney would do later. But he is a ton of fun in this, just incredibly over the top. And the whole movie has these like lavish Technicolor sets that kind of, evoke that Disney cartoon feeling as well. So very similar, except in this movie, Abu, friend of Aladdin, is not a monkey, but he's a young man from India, the actor Sabu, who had a pretty good run at superstardom from the late 1930s through the 1960s. Anyhow, I don't really have anything deep to add about this movie other than I didn't really know much about it. Streamed it a few years ago. I think it was on either Canopy or Criterion, and just thought it was a really great adventure. It's never boring, very colorful, and considering most adventure movies from 1940 are probably as boring as watching paint dry. I think that's kind of impressive that this one is like not slow, not boring at all. So, have you ever seen The Thief of Baghdad, or do you have any interest in seeing like a live action version of Aladdin from 50 years prior?
I have not seen this, but I really like Aladdin. I think that's the Disney version is super good. Maybe I actually probably should have put it on my list because I like it a great deal. But I've never heard of this. And looking at some of the pictures on Google, it looks super fun. And also the 60s version and the 20s version also looks super fun. So I think that this would be really up my alley. I should check this out.
Yeah, check it out. It's got pretty good pixels these days.
Sold. I love pixels.
Very nice.
And I love this segment that has now concluded. And on that note, we got some voicemails. We got some junk mails, as they're called. So get into that. The first one comes from somebody that we all know and love.
Please welcome Mia Sweet Man.
You're so sweet. You're so sweet. You're so sweet.
I was on Facebook and I saw someone post a picture of a AI thingy of what Kurt Cobain would look at like at the Met Gala if he was still alive. And I had kind of like this flash that you have, almost like a psychic flash into an alternate dimension. And it occurred to me that if Kurt Cobain had lived, he'd probably have been very conservative and disappointing. Like, anytime one of your childhood heroes or, teenage heroes, you start looking into them, or like they get older and then all of a sudden they turn out to be like really gross in ways that you didn't ever expect them to be. I don't know. It's just my opinion, but it's something to think about.
All right. Well, thank you, Mia. I think we will think about that.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's probably true.
Didn't we find out at some point within the past decade that like one of those guys, the guy that looks like Andy Kaufman maybe from Nirvana, that he is in fact a like a Trumper or something?
I don't think so. I know he's in politics. I think he's like a pretty left-wing dude. Krist Novoselic.
Yeah, Novoselic or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the guy. Yeah, I'd be very surprised, but it's possible. A lot of weirdos, went hard for Trump. It's hard to watch Mr. Show nowadays, knowing what I know about that guy who did the funny dance in the commercial. So I don't know, possibly, but I mean, like, I don't know, like Kurt Cobain, he was a little bit sus from the beginning. I don't know. I don't think he would hold up well. I think I don't know. He'd probably say some weird stuff on the Joe Rogan podcast and everybody be like mad at him nowadays if he would have lived. Also, he made In Utero, which is like not very good. I know a lot of people like that, but it's just because he died. It's actually not good.
Well, give the man a break. I mean, he was preparing for his suicide. You expect him to write good songs simultaneously? He's not in the headspace.
Well, that's a good point. That is a good point. But all right, we got another voicemail. This one also from Mia, which we'll allow.
Spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh.
I pray to God these aren't
because
real.
James Gunn is part of the Hollywood elite and probably a member of the Illuminati, I guess. He got to see the pictures of Michael Jackson's face after Bubbles the chimp destroyed it. And I think that's exactly what they modeled. All
right, come on with the spoilers here. We're cutting it out. We're that kind of stuff. Get out of here. But Sweeman does call back, so here we go.
So, I'm sorry I keep blowing this up, but I keep thinking about them Guardians 3 movie.
Oh.
And I think it's kind of
you're on thin ice
ironic
here.
that it stars the Chris Pratt guy. Because the movie's very much, or at least the way I read it, is it's kind of about, in a certain sense, how, this idea of like a singular creator God, it's, I guess in the Judeo-Christian sort of way, it's kind of like nasty. Like the way that God could just make something and then just be like, fuck it, and destroy it for no reason. It kind of reminds me of the works of, Gonagi. If you ever read the manga artist Gonagi, he made Demon Lord Dante and Double Man and shit like that. All them giant robots too. Guy King, and I think he made Guy King. He made the Great Mazinger Z, shit like that. A lot of his work is about how about God and the devil, and God sort of being like this evil, or like sort of inhuman or evil entity, and I guess the way that, without really any care feeling towards, what he made. But it depends on which stuff you're reading from him. But it's interesting because it just seems like that's one thing that James Gunn was exploring with trailer and yeah. And I just think it is kind of ironic that they just not ask about it. I don't know if a lot of people are reading it like that, but I just sort of saw it that way because they do mention that there's an Easter and Shula by all these people, like he created those It's kind of like Dr. Moreau. Oh, I made this funny noise because I have a rubber duck with me. But yeah, I don't know. If nobody's seen it, you should see it. It's really fucked, but in like a good way.
No.
It's very cathartic because.
All right, well, that one cut off. It's really getting very clean in the bathtub this time. Well, those are interesting thoughts about Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3. I think Zarin Shulvach, one of my favorite Marvel villains for sure. For a lot of reasons you said. It's very interesting concept of a creator being very upset with his own creation. And I did get a lot of H.G. Wells vibes from it as well. So
interesting. I mean, as somebody who hasn't seen it, I don't have much of a take, but should we ask Kevin what his thoughts were on Guardians 3?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why are they fighting Dracula, for God's sakes?
Okay.
No.
Well, certainly that must be the final voicemail. I mean, this bath is going to be cold by now. There's no way that Mia Sweetman is still scrubbing.
You would think so, especially with the rules we have for only one voicemail. But here is the final Sweetman voicemail of the week.
Oh.
I definitely found it cathartic. I struggle with crying. I think the last time I really remember crying freely, I was 17 and my parents were fighting, and I ran upstairs and watched American Graffiti on VHS that I rented from the library. So that was my favorite movie at the time. But it was very cathartic because I had just lost this kitten that I found in my neighborhood. I named her Wolfie, and she only lived about a week, a little less than a week that I had her. I think her tummy ruptured, and it was just really heartbreaking, but I wasn't able to physically, make the tears go because just I've had to numb myself so much. So it definitely helped, watching the film. And it is very sad, but in the end, it has a very uplifting message, and I greatly appreciate that. And I'm really glad that James Gunn was able to make his trilogy. And, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mia. I'm also glad that James Gunn could complete the trilogy, and it is a very uplifting, wholesome, hopeful movie. I think there's a lot of weird, dark stuff in it, but I think ultimately it's very hopeful. It's very good. Does Mia's evaluation of the film make you more apt to see it now, Sean?
If anything, it's more apt to make me take a bath after the show. Sounds real nice.
I think we should start doing the show from bathtubs. I think that's it's the ultimate way to podcast.
Separate bathtubs, Bowman. Let's keep this PG.
Well, all right. Have it your way. Have it your way. The Greeks used to do it together. So that's all I'm saying. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about Shrek.
Let's
just stick around.
My pretty little. I love you. So I stroke it, I pet it.
JunkFoodInternet.com is the world's oldest and sexiest website.
And massage it.
JunkFoodInternet.com is the world's oldest and sexiest website.
I get all excited. Yeah, I love it. I love my little naughty pet. You're naughty.
The world's oldest and sexiest website is JunkFoodInternet.com.
And I take my naughty pet.
The world's oldest and sexiest website is JunkFoodInternet.com.
I killed her!
Oh no! What are you doing in my swamp?
Oh, Olga! Doesn't that bother you?
Nope.
Really?
Princess Fiona. She's perfect.
Does anybody know where this Farquaad guy is?
Oh, hey, Shrek, it's me, Donkey!
Stop talking.
Shrek, I'm looking down!
What kind of twist?
All right, all of you get off my lawn.
Princess!
You must know how it goes. A princess locked away in a tower, rescued by a brave knight.
You didn't slay the dragon?
It's on my to-do list.
Eat me!
Wow. Let's do that again.
No.
All right, welcome back to Junk Food Supper. The movie that we're talking about on the show this week is Shrek Retold from 2018, which is a fan-made, reanimated version of the 2001 movie Shrek, which was a movie, the original Shrek, that I saw theatrically, as I did all of the Shreks. I guess because I was hungry for big screen animation, even if I never was, especially enthusiastic about the movies. In the years since their release, I feel like the Shrek movies have become either ironically loved or genuinely loved by a whole generation of moviegoers, mostly younger than us. But I've been more or less neutral on all matters of Shrek, taking the stance, these are not terrible, but not very good animated comedies at the same time, and I don't think I would make it out to another one theatrically. But I guess, if I heard that there was a new one that was supposed to be very funny, I might stream it or something. Is that roughly your experience with the Shreks as well, Bowman?
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw the first one in the theater. I think it was when I worked at a theater, so I was just seeing everything. I thought it was fun. pretty fun. And it was also, very novel at the time for kind of taking all these stories and mashing them together in a way that kind of happens with absolutely everything now that we watch.
Well, and also the style of humor, I think, was novel at the time, where it was like, these are jokes that are written more for an adult audience, but in a kind of a kid's movie, which I feel like is everything now. But at that time, there was kind of more of a delineation between the two, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like a lot of smart jokes that like kids wouldn't get, that would just like fly over their heads that like, not necessarily like super smart jokes or whatever, but like just like little references here and there that certainly kids wouldn't get. And I think Pixar really kind of picked up on that, and that kind of became Pixar's thing too to this very day.
Yeah, pretty much. But back in 2001, fairly novel. And anyhow, a dude named Grant Dufresne was one of those guys who loved Shrek, I guess genuinely. And he ran an annual Shrek festival in Milwaukee. I think probably still does run it. But his prominence in the Shrek community led to him putting together this project, which features over 200 collaborators reanimating the movie in a variety of styles, sort of like the Steamed Hams, but it's a different animator every 13 seconds YouTube video that you might have seen. But this is a full 90 minutes. I heard about this around the time that it came out via DJ Doug Pound's podcast. He's one of the musical collaborators on this. And I watched a few minutes of this at that time because it is free on YouTube. I should maybe mention that here up top. You can watch this, in its entirety for free on YouTube. And I checked it out at that time, and I was like, whoa, this is interesting. This feels like something that we should cover on the show. And I shortlisted it way back then. But every time I tried to move it to the main list, I just had these images flashing in my mind of like Kevin Moss laughing at me for picking a Shrek movie for the show. So I never picked it. And now I've got this fun little loophole where I can pick it and not worry as much about Kevin Moss laughing right in my face. Well,
I
not
think
as much.
Having seen this, I think Kevin Moss would definitely be very upset about this.
Yeah, because, on top of being the most Shrek thing imaginable, which, I'm guessing he's probably not the world's biggest Shreksman, it is the most internet thing imaginable, which probably he also is not huge into. So anyhow, we picked it. And so, if you've never seen Shrek, you probably know the basic story anyways. It's probably been 20 years since I've seen that first Shrek, and I still remember the basic story. But if not, this is the one where Shrek, the ugly green ogre guy, tries to kidnap the beautiful Princess Fiona on behalf of the evil Lord Farquaad. But wouldn't you know it, the kind-hearted ogre ends up falling in love with the princess, putting a wrench in Farquaad's plans. Also, there's a donkey that talks like Eddie Murphy. He's in this. So then for this reanimated version, in maybe sort of a surprising fashion, it opens up with a completely non-animated segment where a dude in like a Disneyland style walk around Shrek costume kind of recreates the opening where Shrek is farting around the swamp. And I think he probably just shot it in like the woods behind his house or maybe the woods behind Beelzebub's house, but it's very lo-fi. There's also a jangly indie rock band doing their version of Smash Mouth's Hey Now You're an All-Star. And it's actually a pretty damn solid version, if you ask me. I kind of like that. But pretty quickly after that, we get into the animation and things get really surreal, both in terms of the style of the individual animators who are employed, but also in the way that this thing is edited and how it kind of cuts between those styles. And the experience of watching this is really kind of hard to explain, which is unfortunate for a podcast where we have to explain what it was like to watch a movie. But it's kind of like watching an unending stream of meme GIFs that are all somehow still telling a continuous story. You know what I mean? Like, did you feel like just kind of the general experience of this was like, it's pretty novel and very different?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there's also, the Our RoboCop remake, which I think that this is probably where these guys got the idea, which is the same thing, but I think that I haven't seen that, but it's my understanding that the folks who did the Our RoboCop remake, everybody did one scene. And so here they're not like, there's no, okay, you do a scene, you do a scene, you do a scene. It's like 10 people will be in the same shot. It seems like 10 different creators are remaking the same exact shot. Like it's kind of all over the place. And I think that the RoboCop people maybe played it a little bit straighter. From what I understand, like I said, I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's kind of like all over the place here. You'll get different styles of animation, and like they'll even go back and forth. So like when a scene starts, you'll have one style of animation, and then it'll cut to like a different camera angle and be a different one, and then it'll cut to back to the first camera angle and be the same one, but then it'll cut back, and it's like I don't know if that's one animator just doing a bunch of weird styles to make it different, or if they're cutting 100 different creators things into one thing. So that it's very, very confusing. Jennifer watched this with me. And, she said, I bet that these animators were all really pissed off at how they got edited together into this. And I don't know enough about the production to know if that's correct, but it certainly feels that way.
Yeah, because it does really vary, like the amount of time that certain styles get on screen. So I'm guessing certain animators get on screen. Like it's 200 animators across 90 minutes. I did the math. That's an average of 27 seconds per animator, but it's not that consistent. Like there are some seemingly, single animator segments that go on for like a minute, maybe minute and a half. There are some that go on for what feels like less than 1 second. Like there's certain little flashes of a certain style that you'll get once in a while that will be really brief, and then that style will never come back again. So it is a lot to take in. I mean, major. Go ahead.
Well, then there's also that one that's a live action like rom-com, and it's like maybe 5 minutes long. And then there's also the scene where like the guy's like just breaking the fourth wall and talking to us like a YouTube video about his experience watching Shrek, and that's probably also about 5 minutes long. So if you take that into effect, then that's even less for the rest of the folks.
And there's a segment where you have like an animator who's kind of talking about the process of animating it as well. Like it's not just let's get a bunch of animators to draw this Shrek movie in their own style. It's everything, and it really does encompass a lot of different approaches. I mean, the obvious major downside to this approach is whenever you run across a style in this that you're really enjoying, it's only going to last, a few seconds, to maybe a minute, and then it's going to be gone. And so that can be kind of frustrating. But on the flip side, I would say this is maybe the perfect thing to drop acid to, especially if you're okay with potentially losing your mind forever. Because it just feels like something that was created, on a psychedelic. But in terms of like the specific styles in this, like there's a guy that did his style, did his segment in the style of John Kay. There's a guy that did his segment in the style of like an amateur manga artist drawing on like notebook paper. There's another guy that did kind of like a modern Marvel comic book approach, like very polished and superhero-y with like static panels and everything like that. But a lot of these styles are like, I can't even describe them. They just completely defy description. There's a sequence in this early on where the gingerbread man is first introduced that's done in this like scary watercolor paint style that I thought looked really cool. But again, it's a lot to take in all of this. There were a few specific parts that I wanted to call out that I really liked. There's a joke in this where they're using a search engine called Inquire Upon Jeeves instead of Ask Jeeves. And it has a button on there that says, I'm feeling swampy. I don't know if that was an original Shrek joke or not. Maybe that is just from Shrek, but I thought it was fun. There's the one part where the animator is talking about her process of animating her segment, and she can't remember the name Farquaad. And so she just keeps calling him like the villain guy or something. I thought that was fun. And I really loved that music video for I'm a Believer that closes out this movie. They do it in this like lo-fi Italia disco style or something. Like it feels like it was on the Drive soundtrack. I thought that was awesome. Oh, and yeah, the Tim Allen grunt does make an appearance. Gotta shout that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's another one of those sort of Zoomer meme things, the Tim Allen grunt that, like you were saying earlier, like I don't know if Generation Z is genuinely like super obsessed with Shrek or ironically obsessed with Shrek, but obsessed with Shrek they are nonetheless. And meme culture, and that Tim Allen grunt pops up in a lot of videos of the same YouTubers that I watch that also really like making Shrek references. So I was glad to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. But I do feel like I need to rewatch this entire movie again with like some sort of a guide to tell me who did what parts and how this was all made. Because there's definitely like a few segments in this where I'm watching and I'm like, I would love to follow this guy on Instagram if I only knew who the hell animated this segment because it looks really fucking cool. And then there's like I'm watching the credits and I'm seeing names of people that I do follow on Instagram, like Jamie Loftus or Jay Weingarten, like local LA comedians who I guess did some of the lo-fi animation in this, but I didn't know what segments they did. So I would love to know that as well. But overall, I mean, I really loved this, actually. I was really impressed with this. I thought it was a great way to just kind of mainline a bunch of weirdo animation and be consistently entertained by it. Sort of like those old Sick and Twisted animation festivals, but with a continuous story. I think I was slightly confused by those live action bits at first, thinking that it was kind of a cop-out that I would rather have animation. But in the end, I started to appreciate how that sort of humanizes this movie. Like if it was just only weirdo animation with no human faces, I think it might feel a little bit more alienating. But I kind of like looking these Shrek nerds dead in the eyes and, knowing who they are, like these people who produced this weird tribute to something that I don't quite understand, but I still find that there is something undeniably inspiring about the passion for Shrek that, not only this director has, but all of his collaborators. So if you want to see something that, makes you feel like you're tapping into a huge well of human creativity, some of which you might not fully understand, but all of which is fairly surprising. And I think that's a valuable thing, surprise, for people like us who have seen so many damn movies. I think see this. It's it's free and there's really nothing like it except I guess maybe that RoboCop thing. And then I think there have been multiple other reanimated projects that have followed in the wake of this, but yeah, I mean, I was really impressed by this. So, as somebody who generally engages less with the internet than probably Bowman does, I'm curious to hear. Did you think that this was as weird as I did? Like, were you blown away by the weirdness of this, or do you chalk this up to like, oh yeah, this is what happens on the internet?
I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, if you watch, like, there are some YouTubers I watch, and like they'll review a video game, and while reviewing a video game, like you'll get a lot of pop-ins like this, a lot of stuff like this, like, that's similar to this. Like they'll say something, and then while they're saying it, like 8 different memes are on screen that you have to know what those things are referencing and how they correlate with what he's actually saying, even though they don't correlate with what he's actually saying, to get like a third and fourth layer of a joke. And I think that that's a lot of what this is, a lot of what these are. So some of it was not like too out there and too surprising, but the fact that they're all strung together to form a narrative is kind of very surprising. So like using them as more than just like a throwaway kind of, 2-second meme footnote to a greater like video game review or whatever it is these YouTubers are talking about, like I think is interesting. I think that when you say that there's a well of creativity here, I think I would disagree. I think maybe half of these people are actually trying. I think that maybe that's the downfall of this movie, is that so many of them are just like phoned in. Like maybe this director just didn't want to say no to anybody, so everybody's in, and some of them are really, really lazy. Either in execution or animation or conception.
You're talking about the segments where it will just be like a static image and then somebody's doing like the Conan O'Brien superimposed lips moving kind of a thing.
Yeah, stuff like that. A lot of the live action ones I feel like are just okay. You're just doing Shrek live action. Like, I mean, what's next? But some of them I did really like. Like the big long rom-com one. I didn't like because it was just them doing Shrek live action, and I didn't think that they were doing anything else with it. But there was a different one.
There's like a drama one towards the end.
Yeah, I think that's the the one where like Donkey and Fiona are talking in her apartment, and then Shrek's outside.
Yeah,
and he like leaves the flowers. Yeah, that one's just like straight up Shrek with nothing else added. And I mean, I guess that's the joke, is just seeing it, and like it looks like they're in New York or something like that. So I mean, I guess that's inherently maybe kind of funny. But there's another one I did like that was live action, where it was like a kid and Donkey, or it was all three of them. It was Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona walking around like a park. And Donkey was walking sideways to show that he was a donkey. And Shrek was putting on like this big, boisterous, like English accent rather than a Scottish one. And then like Fiona's kidnapped by, I think, Farquaad or somebody like that. And like he takes her up into a tree. And so like, I don't know, like that was interesting enough. I thought I liked that one. But like, then there's one where like they took actual footage from Shrek, and then a guy just superimposed his head like from like a Zoom call over the heads, and then just read the dialogue. And it's like, you didn't try. You didn't like, why are you doing this? Like,
I think that all of what you're saying, though, in a sense, is like a feature, not a bug. Like, I agree.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of these segments are very lazy and kind of lame on their own. But I think when you put them in this kind of kaleidoscopic format, to me as a viewer, like, it's suggesting all these like different possible versions of the movie. And in my mind, I'm like, well, there could have been like 200 different Shreks, some of which would have been terrible, some of which would have been maybe better than what we had even got. But none of them last long enough to really bother me. Like, even the worst of the worst in this, it's going to be over in a minute or less,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I can imagine that I might look back fondly on this, even the ones that I didn't actually like watching, like in like a week or something. So I definitely get what you're saying. While watching this, I did notice the one that was influenced by John Kay, and I like that one a good deal. There's one that is like very fluid and like anime style while they're like fighting the dragon or something like that I really liked. There's one that I did appreciate. It was very lazy, super lazy, and maybe the most memey one of the bunch. But there's one where like there's a scene in this video game Dark Souls, which is a marvelous video game, where you go onto a bridge and then a dragon attacks the bridge and lights it on fire with its fire breath. And so at the part in Shrek where that happens, they just, in this, they just play footage of the video game, but they put Shrek's head superimposed over the Dark Souls guy's head. And that's it. That's all they did. But I really liked it because I understood that reference. I like Dark Souls a great deal. So maybe that might be a part of the problem with a lot of these, is that I'm just not getting the reference. They're too memey. or maybe I just haven't seen Shrek in 20 years, so I'm not getting a lot of the foundation for the weirdness. There was one meme that I did get immediately, and that's that Chris Chan, or Christine Chan, I forget their name now, shows up and talks and does the voice for Shrek at some point. Do you know about this person, and were you taken aback to see this? Because that came totally out of left field for me.
I don't think I know this person.
Okay, this Christine Weston Chandler is like a lol cow on the internet. They are a person who came to fame on the internet for coming up with this character Sonichu, which is a mix between Sonic and Pikachu. And they would make comics with this character and themselves hanging out with this character and going on wacky adventures, and then also like spilling their very real guts about real persons on the internet that they were really stalking, kind of stuff. Like in there, it's crazy. It's like a crazy rabbit hole. There's like an 87-part documentary about this person on YouTube. It's a whole thing. It'll ruin your whole weekend if you learn too much about this. But they show up and voice the character for a little bit. I don't know if they did the art for the part that they did or not. The art looked maybe a little bit too good. So I don't know if they were just voicing.
This is not the same segment as the one I was talking about before where the animator couldn't remember the name of the villain. Is this who we're talking about or no?
I don't believe so.
Where it was like a real grainy kind of lo-fi video webcam of the person with like longish hair, kind of maybe
actually
gender non-specific, who was like talking about Farquaad but couldn't remember the name.
Then actually, yes, it might be. I was like actively screaming when they popped up on this, and like screaming to my wife, like, that's the person I've been telling you about, that we watched, the first 15 parts of the documentary about like 2 years ago. So
I'd say it's a hot piece of ass.
It's possible that I was talking. Yeah. It's possible that I was talking through part of that. But yeah, I think that is accurate. I think that that's probably the correct person.
Well, I'm guessing that person has since done terrible things based on your tone, but maybe at this point in time they hadn't, hopefully.
Well, that's part of it too, is that at this point in time, they were just a lolcow, just made fun of for making these stupid comics and, going on like weird rages, like on the internet, and just being kind of a goofball. But yeah, since this, they have actually gone to jail for incest and perhaps forcibly having sex with their mother that is suffering from dementia. So that really puts kind of a bad shadow over this entire project, because I think that probably happened like right after this was released. I think very bad timing.
Son of a bitch
on the part of these filmmakers. But I do recommend that you watch the 87-part documentary because it's fascinating. Maybe I'll pick it next week. All 870 hours of it. But anyway, so Chris Chan is in this, if you guys are into that. Christine Chan. My apologies. And then also, in terms of memes, somebody wears that horse mask. I like that horse mask. It pops up in a lot of memes on the internet. You know the one. Did you see the horse mask?
I saw the horse mask. No Banana Man costume, though.
Sadly, no Banana Man costume. Yeah, so this is very interesting relic. I think because of the Christine Weston Chandler connection, this might be like this is definitely going to be in an exhibit A at some point, I think, on the internet. So I think that's interesting. And it's fun. I don't know if it's ironic or not. Like we've talked about this love of Shrek. I don't think so. I don't think that Generation Z feels irony. Like I think that they've just kind of mixed irony and sincerity together. perhaps, but I love that they're very passionate about Shrek, and I love that this movie is a passionate celebration of a thing. So I do kind of like it, even though I only like watching like half of it.
All right, yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, this is, I think, by its very nature, a movie that could not be fully satisfying for its entire runtime, because no matter what, I mean, there's always going to be one segment in this that you prefer to another. Granted, the ones that we prefer less in the version of this that we got are extremely lazy on the whole, but I kind of think that adds to its charm in a weird way, to just be like, this is a snapshot of what creativity was like on the internet in 2008, or 2018 rather. So anyways, it's out there, it's free. I say go check it out. I say it's a vastly more impressive achievement than the original Shrek, and hopefully the Library of Congress will call, this guy up and ask him to, send a copy over, because this should be preserved. I think this is really neat. There is a sequel on the way, I guess. They're doing Shrek 2 Retold, that I think is expected in the next year or so. So I'll be looking forward to that. Trigger warning on this, though. If you do end up deciding to stream this, be forewarned. We do have a number of nerdy white guys doing Eddie Murphy voices, which, maybe they can't do that in the sequel, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for Shrek Retold. And now, maybe the most exciting part of the podcast. What will we be watching next week? Because I don't know. Only one man knows. It's the Bowman.
Well, next week is the show with Kevin. So we actually know two of the movies we'll be talking about.
Exactly, because somebody picked something that was impossible to find.
Yes, indeed I did. So I have two picks to do. And I'm going to need your help to pick them. I have my list whittled down to 3. Last week, to pick this, you let me pick between 2 things. So I'm going to return the favor here. I've got 3 things, and we need to pick 2 of them. And also, we need to pick which show we're going to do them on. If it's going to be the junk food supper or the junk food dinner. So the first thing is, what I'm thinking here is there's a Night of the Living Dead movie that is like this movie, where it's animated by a bunch of different people. It came out around the same time. And it's called Night of the Living Dead Reanimated. So I kind of want to do this, but I also am hesitant because we might just basically be saying the same thing that we just said for the last half hour if we watch it.
Yeah, but Kevin didn't have a chance to say any of those things.
Precisely. So that's on the table.
I don't want it.
So that's on the table. Also, the new Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, Plantasm, that just came out a few months ago.
I didn't even know that there was one.
Well, I've heard that it's good. I've heard people like it. So I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to throw that out there.
I didn't hate that original one. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought it was fun.
I absolutely hate that first one, but I love the show. So I want to see this new movie. And then also, we talked about this a little bit a few months ago, and I'm intrigued to talk about it more with you guys, or at least you. I don't know, depending on what show we do it on. But Bender's Big Score, the first Futurama movie. So those are the 3 things. Now I'm going to leave it up to you which 2 you want to do and which order you want to do them in.
Well, I feel like we would be remiss if we didn't include Kevin Moss in our celebration of reanimated features. And so I think Night of the Living Dead, I mean, that's the perfect entry point for the guy into this world. Certainly Shrek would not have been. But maybe if he likes watching that, he might even go back and watch this Shrek.
True. Or if we find out that he's a big Christian Weston Chandler fan, he might go back and watch this. Big Sonichu fan, that Kevin Moss.
So that would be my pick for next week.
Okay, perfect. It's on Tubi, so it's easy to find. That's Gonzo in the background.
And then I feel like, I mean, we've talked about Futurama. I don't think we've really talked about Aqua Teen, so I'm going with my boys Meatwad and Master Shake and Frylock.
All right, perfect. I'm sorry for these dog noises. But all right, that works. That is wonderful. We'll talk about the Aqua Teens.
Excellent. And I think that will be our final animation pick. Although who's to say I might not pick some animated movies in June?
That's certainly within your rights to do. And we would be talking about it in May, so that counts for us.
Yeah.
Oh my God, these dogs are crazy. Also, it's Christine Weston Chandler. I think I said Christian, so I just want to make sure I got the name right. I apologize. I'm probably being offensive by not knowing the person's name. Oh my God, this dog.
I think you're going to have to return that dog, dude.
I think so.
You got a faulty beast.
Okay, hold on one second. I need to mute and take care of these dogs.
What kind of dog you got, bro?
Okay, I've returned. I apologize. These guys are nuts.
No problem. Okay, so I think that probably brings us to the closing wrap up here, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, well, that was an episode of the Junk Food Supper podcast. We hope you all enjoyed it. Next week will be a full junk food dinner with Kevin Moss. I probably should have pulled up the list of what we're reviewing. That would have been smart. We know one of them is going to be Night of the Living Dead Reanimated. What else do we have in store? Let's see real quick.
One of them is a Frankenstein. We're doing a Frankenstein, I know.
Oh, that sounds sick. Yeah, Monster of Frankenstein from 1981. That'll be a pick. Mad Monster Party, also featuring a Frankenstein. So 2 out of 3 Frankensteins from 1967. Okay. And then, the Night of the Living Dead Reanimated. No Frankensteins, technically. But aren't zombies just kind of an off-brand Frankenstein when you're thinking about it, really? I mean, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, and these are going to be artists' interpretations of Night of the Living Dead, so there may very well be a Frankenstein in it.
There better be. You know what? If there's no Frankenstein, I'm going to want my money back. So hopefully there will be a Frankenstein. We'll definitely be counting those Frankensteins, and next week we'll report back to you how many Frankensteins there were. But until then, do all of the things on the internet. Send us an email at jfdpodcast@gmail.com. Send us a voicemail at 347-746-JUNK. Go to our Facebook page or Instagram or wherever. Check out our Discord. That's where we like to party and get real wild and loose. So come join us on Discord. It's a lot of fun. But until next week, also Patreon, patreon.com/junkfooddinner. Go send us some money so that we keep making these podcasts. But until next week, this is your friend, Senbiro, for your other friend, Perky Beantown Bowman, saying keep washing them dishes.
Wonderful. Very nice.